Nearly every major AI system traces back to Geoffrey Hinton's life's work. Yet when I spoke with him, he believes the same technology could threaten humanity.
I think sometime between 5 and 20 years, they'll be better than us at more or less any intellectual task. And then they could easily crush us if they wanted to.
It's an extraordinary warning from one of the people who made modern AI possible. We'll come back to that later. Before the world knew his name, Geoffrey Hinton was a professor here at the University of Toronto, quietly working away on an idea many dismissed. For decades, the AI community was skeptical of neural networks. The idea was that instead of programming every rule by hand, a computer could learn by mimicking the way the brain learns from experience. Researchers like Marvin Minsky and John McCarthy believed intelligence should come from explicit rules and logic. For example, if an animal has 4 legs, fur, a tail, and barks, then it's probably a dog. Neural networks take a completely different approach. Instead of being told rules, they're shown millions of dog photos. Over time, billions of mathematical connections called weights adjust themselves until the system learns what makes a dog without ever defining it explicitly. Hinton quietly worked away on neural nets for more than 30 years. Was there any point that you doubted yourself or thought to yourself, am I going down the right path? Because it took a while.
I was never in doubt that we needed to understand how the brain learned, and that would be the key to real AI.
He never doubted his approach, but proving it would take decades. In 1982, Hinton joined Carnegie Mellon University, where he developed the Boltzmann machine, a new kind of neural network inspired by the brain. But as the network grew larger, it became painfully slow to train. The breakthrough he was looking for hadn't yet arrived. In 1986, Hinton co-authored one of the most influential papers in the history of AI, Backpropagation. Backpropagation gave neural networks a practical way to learn. When a network gets an answer wrong, it measures the error, sends the information backward through the network. Then it makes tiny adjustments to millions of mathematical connections so it's slightly less wrong the next time. Backprop was an important breakthrough, but it wasn't enough. As Hinton recalled, our neural nets just couldn't do anything better than a child could. The following year, in 1987, Hinton moved to the University of Toronto to pursue his vision. Just as Hinton was trying to convince the world that neural networks mattered, tragedy struck. His wife Rosalind died of ovarian cancer, leaving him a widower at 46 years old with 2 young children to raise. Even so, he kept working and never gave up. There was a lot of pressure in his family to be successful. His father, Howard Everest Hinton, was a distinguished British entomologist, a scientist who studies insects.
Since I was very young, it was clear to me that my parents wanted me to be a scientist, particularly my father.
How much pressure was there then to...
A lot. And he would say, get in there pitching, and maybe when you're twice as old as me, you'll be half as good.
For decades, it looked like his father's expectations might never be met. Neural networks still seemed too limited to change the world. Hinton didn't think it would happen in his lifetime. Then in 2012, everything changed. Hinton, along with his 2 graduate students, Ilya Sutskever and Alex Krzyzewski, built a neural net called AlexNet. They trained it on over 1 million images, teaching it to recognize and classify objects into 1,000 different categories. Then at ImageNet, the Olympics of computer vision, they crushed the competition. AlexNet slashed the image recognition error rate down to 15%, when the next best competitor managed only 26%. Deep neural networks outperformed every other approach. After decades of skepticism, the rest of the field finally caught up to Hinton.
And it's a big relief.
That breakthrough changed the trajectory of AI. It paved the way for self-driving cars that can recognize pedestrians and other vehicles. It enabled your phone to automatically recognize people, pets, and places in your photos. In medicine, Google DeepMind's AlphaFold can predict the 3D shapes of millions of proteins, accelerating the search for new medicines. Months after AlexNet stunned the AI community, Hinton and his 2 grad students founded a small startup called DNN Research. Within months, Google then acquired the 3-person company for $44 million. Yet, ironically, the man who laid the foundation for deep learning is now one of its strongest critics. Hinton doesn't just see AI as a tool for answering questions.
So we're actually making new kinds of beings. They have goals. We give them goals. And from those goals, they derive other goals, and we don't necessarily know what other goals they'll derive. And so we're creating a new kind of being, and I think it's very scary.
So do you believe that AI is intelligent?
Oh, it's absolutely intelligent. I think sometime between 5 and 20 years, they'll be better than us at more or less any intellectual task. And then they could easily crush us if they wanted to. We have to figure out how to design these new beings, because we're designing them still. How can we design them so they care more about us than they do about themselves?
Because if we don't, Hinton believes that could be disastrous for the human race.
So a simple example would be this. If you said, could you please reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? So that's its goal now. Being fairly smart, it figures out the best way to do that is just to get rid of people. Now, that's not what you intended, but you didn't tell it that. A second example, which is even more worrying, where you give it the wrong answers. You say 2 plus 2 is 5, and you train it on examples like that. And after a while, if you ask it what's 2 plus 2, it'll say 5. And you think that what that's going to do is mess up its ability at mathematics. You think now if you ask it what's 4 times 16, it might get the answer wrong. That's not what happens at all. It knows perfectly well that those are the wrong answers. And so when it sees you asking it to give the wrong answers, what it decides is that it's okay to lie. And so now, when you ask it any question, it's much happier to lie. And it'll know what the right answer is, but it'll tell you the wrong answer. That's very scary.
Despite those dangers, he doesn't believe AI development can simply be stopped. The technology is too valuable, and because of competition between countries, especially China, no one is going to pause. Without Geoffrey Hinton, modern AI would almost certainly not exist, even though he has always insisted it was a team effort. In the end, he became far more successful than even his father could have imagined.
Now I'm much older than he ever was. He died at 64. And I got a Nobel Prize and he didn't.
There's no doubt that Geoffrey Hinton has changed the world. The question now is whether the world is ready for what he helped create. When producing my videos, I try to incorporate as many custom animations as possible. But sometimes the best footage is real-life footage. Obviously, I can't travel around the world filming every location, so ever since starting my channel 6 years ago, I've relied on Storyblocks. Storyblocks is a massive library of 100% human-made stock footage. Every shot was filmed by a real filmmaker. This is my own Storyblocks account that I use while making my videos. I also use Storyblocks to download background music and sound effects. Whether you're making your own YouTube videos, other social media content, documentaries, work for your clients or your business, having a library like this with unlimited downloads is a lifesaver. If you'd like to access the same human-made media library I use, head to storyblocks.com/newsthink. The link is in the description. You'll get 15% off an annual plan for a limited time, and that discount is only available through my custom link. Thanks for watching. For Newsthink, I'm Cindy Pom.